In ancient times, two brothers lived in a small village. One was wealthy, and the other lived a simple life with his wife and children. The poor brother's wife was a kind woman who helped her husband and worked every day in the wealthy brother's wife's house to provide for her family. However, the wealthy brother's wife did not treat her kindly and felt jealous of her, making her work all day and then asking her to gather the leftover wheat grains from the ground as her daily wage. Nevertheless, the patient couple accepted what came their way for the sake of their children, hoping for their situation to improve. One day, the poor brother felt that life had become heavier than he could bear. He told his wife that he needed to leave in search of a new opportunity, hoping to return with something that would make his family happy. He carried his meager provisions and set off, not knowing his destination. He walked until he entered a dense forest. As hours passed, he found himself lost, unable to find his way back. Darkness fell, and the place became desolate. Fear and regret ignited in his heart for leaving his family without food, and he began to feel helpless, wondering if he had made a mistake by leaving his home. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. While he was sitting and thinking, he saw a girl wearing a black robe passing quickly between the trees. He called out to her, but she did not stop, so he ran after her, believing that someone lived in that forest and might help him. He kept following her footsteps until he stood in front of a large castle, engulfed in darkness and surrounded by trees. He hesitated for a moment but told himself that he had nothing to lose. Then, he lit a piece of wood and approached the door, pushing it open with a terrifying sound. He entered and found a spacious room full of ancient artifacts, and at the far end, a fireplace with a pot above it, from which the delicious smell of food wafted. The man approached cautiously, and suddenly he heard a voice behind him saying, "It seems you are so hungry that you didn't notice what was around you." The man trembled and turned around to find the same girl smiling at him. She said gently, "Don't be afraid. My name is Yakuta. I have lived here for a long time, and rarely does anyone come to this place. Sit down and eat, and tell me what brought you here." The man sat down and began to eat. Then he told her his whole story, how he lived a simple life, how he was treated in his brother's house, and how desperate he had become, deciding to leave without a specific destination. Yakuta was touched by his story and told him, "When you leave this room, you will find a hallway with 4 rooms. Open only the 4th room, and you will find silver in it. Take as much as you can carry, but do not open the other rooms. And if you leave, do not return again." The man agreed and thanked her, then headed to the hallway. He saw 4 doors adorned with beautiful carvings, and when he reached out to open one, he remembered her advice and withdrew. He went to the 4th door and opened it, finding piles of shining silver. He filled only half a bag and told himself that it was enough for him and his family. He returned to Yakuta, who said to him, "Because you are not greedy, everything you took will be good for you. If you had filled the bag, you would not have been able to leave this place easily." Then, she showed him the way out of the forest. He did not know that Yakuta was not human, but a mysterious being who had lived with her mother in this castle for a long time. But she did not harm those in whom she saw kindness of heart. At dawn, the man arrived at the market, bought a donkey, some sheep, and food, then hurried back to his home. When his children saw him, they ran towards him joyfully. He gave them food, and they all gathered for the first time in a long while. He told his wife what had happened, and they agreed to invest what they had in buying livestock, cultivating the land, and making cheese and butter to sell in the market. With the passage of days, their trade expanded, their herd grew, and they renovated their house until it became a beautiful, large home. On the other hand, the wealthy brother's wife was astonished when she saw their improved condition and told her husband about it. He did not believe what he heard, and curiosity filled his heart. So he invited his brother to a large feast and gave him gifts, then asked him to tell him the secret of his wealth. The poor brother tried to evade, but his fear for his children made him tell the story. The next day, the wealthy brother carried 2 large bags and wore ragged clothes to make Yakuta believe he was in need, then headed to the forest. When he entered the castle, Yakuta appeared before him and asked him why he was there. He claimed he was looking for work. She pitied him because she saw his torn clothes, so she gave him the same instructions. Open only the 4th room, and do not open any other. But as soon as he saw the silver, his heart filled with greed. He opened the 3rd room and found gold, so he left the silver and took the gold. Then he opened the 2nd room and found precious stones and pearls, so he replaced the gold with them. Then he opened the 1st room, despite the warning, and found it full of bags of wheat. He was surprised and said to himself, "What is the value of this?" He was about to leave, but he heard a loud noise behind him, so he panicked and ran out of the castle, leaving everything he had gathered, carrying only a small handful of wheat. He returned home exhausted, tired, and unable to work. As days passed, his condition worsened, and his wife distanced herself from him because their circumstances became difficult. When he found nowhere to turn, he went to his brother's house. His brother's wife opened the door for him, and when she saw his condition, she let him in, offered him food, listened to his story, and told him that she would ask her husband to help him when he recovered, because good should not be repaid with evil. The poor brother returned from the market, and when he saw his brother in such a state, his heart softened, and he said, "Glory be to him who changes situations. You were the one who had my wife collect wheat from your land, and today we help you as God helped us." So the wealthy brother began to work on his brother's land until his condition improved, and he learned that contentment and satisfaction are better than boundless greed. Thus, the happy ending was for those whose hearts were filled with goodness and simplicity, while those who let greed lead them only learned the truth late and returned to learn their biggest life lesson: that what fills hearts is far more important than what fills hands. And finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit like.